So David, you were
I
white,
muted it
and
now.
John was. It looks like jonathinkle was black. So
Yep.
Shows. It's me
So
unmuted
no
now.
issues so far. It this is a very tiny mistake, but something just to be kind of interesting is you actually very rarely see a one space extension anymore when you have a knight's move. The idea being that this follow up is generally considered good for black.
Okay.
So invading at the corner is also considered good for black. So the results are just a little bit more positive when white does a low space extension like it came out right here.
Interesting. Okay.
For a small move, but you'll at the higher levels, you're not seeing this move nearly as often.
I guess it's a bit of a habit was
The
to go
blinking is killing
high
me.
sometimes,
blinking
but then
is
the
killing
second
me.
one I
It
went
keeps
low
blinking.
because the other side was high.
He's trying to find
Yeah,
the
I mean
image
that's a
behind
good
it.
that's certainly a good balance. You want to have some stones on the low and some
Come on,
stones on the high.
block it.
So
Like
I think
saying
playing
shit.
low here after you played high is definitely good. So this is fine.
I thought his move was a mistake at B3.
No, so B3 is the very I should say the classic is the modern Joseki
Okay.
that everyone's playing. B4 is a little unreasonable.
Okay, B4 is unreasonable.
So black's going to connect here at C5. White's going to play here. Black will play here. White should play here. The reason being that now black, if white takes here, black gets the Satari.
Yeah.
Actually, there's actually a little bit of fight here for later on, where this group in the corner is not locally alive. So it's going to be a little complicated over here. However, if white were to connect here instead, black's not going to be able to fight this out. This fight doesn't work for black. So definitely good for white just to do a hard take. It didn't end up happening in the game. White just ended up playing here. But black just ended up ataring at E4, but there could have been a little bit of nastiness in that play.
I think what
you played was definitely a mistake. Yeah.
Correct. I should have gone, if I was going to do that strategy, I should have gone D2 instead.
Yeah, and this would have been
that would have connected me out.
This would have been a playable result for white. I still think it's a little bit positive for black. Black's influence here is nice. White's position is very low.
Right.
And white gets 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 points. Black's wall is probably worth more than 12 points, and it's also Sente for black. So this would be probably still a positive result,
right?
But not quite as positive as what happened in the game.
Yes, as soon as I made the E3 move, I knew it was a mistake. I was expecting he was going to capture and I was going to play underneath.
Yeah, now the real issue comes is you still owe a move here, right? If you play there, which is probably what you're hoping to do to get Sente, this group's not alive.
Right.
So really a huge loss. Almost like this is a 20+ point swing.
Right. And then he made a bigger mistake.
He made a bigger mistake. Yeah, I saw that just a few moves later. So this move doesn't work yet because there's no.
Right. I saw that.
I place here. Then you kind of do so. This I would say is almost a little bit too crude. It's very obvious that you're aiming at this move here, but if black just plays something like this, it's already protecting the ladder, right?
Right.
So if you did something like this, black's already fine here. And this is actually a really nice wall for black. And white makes some territory here, but it's expanding black's wall a little bit too much. So I would try to be more subtle, and I would try to set up with a ladder breaker or something like this if that's what we're going to do. I would certainly finish what's happening over here. I think that this area is going to be more vital, but later on I would try to set up a ladder breaker. Black's going to capture, and then white gets 2 moves elsewhere. And this would be kind of a way to play with this already bad situation here. Obviously, this is still a really bad situation for white, but we can try to get a little bit of compensation elsewhere on the board. However, if you exchange this move, and it's an interesting thought process, right? If you exchange this move now and black just answers, all you got was this move, right? You got this empty triangle shape. That's not nearly as efficient as getting 2 moves elsewhere on the board, because the difference between getting this additional move and then playing here, playing something like this, there's almost no difference between just playing here directly, right?
Right.
Except now it preserves the Aji of this group. The other thing that we need to look at is white can actually connect these stones underneath, which wouldn't even be that bad of a result for white. Obviously, black is still profitable here. It got Sente elsewhere. It's a strong position on the outside, But this would be a nice way for white to connect these two stones if they were ever particularly weak. But after you've played here, that all goes away. So very significant, or should have been a very significant loss for white. Ended up working out okay, but
Yeah.
And black tried to get some profit here. This is obviously a large move, but this is just a loss. There's no comparison between this. So obviously you were very correct in extending it to T6. So interestingly, you can actually cut here.
Yeah.
Which would have been more severe. If black can't play like this because it puts this stone in Atari, and then black also can't play like this because it puts this stone in Atari. So this would have been a much more severe way of playing, and it would have killed these 3 stones outright without black getting this move. So this would have been quite nice. I think if this were the case, maybe something like this would happen. But this is obviously much more positive for black than white playing here. This move for black is quite nice because it builds up a little bit of framework over here. And also,
it leaves me 3 liberties to his 2.
It leaves you. It does leave you more liberties, but as we saw, if you cut, there's no ladder anyway.
Yeah.
So you have all the liberties you need.
That's true. Okay. Yeah.
And this move is just it's poorly timed, right? Because now black can play here. So you no longer get these 3 stones. What you'd actually probably be rather doing is, you'd rather be targeting the whole group rather than just these 3 stones. These 3 stones aren't vital anymore. And the reason why they're not vital is because this group is both out and killing both these 3 stones and these 2 stones. So these 3 stones aren't vital to anything yet. They're technically cutting stones, but there are other cutting stones that make these irrelevant, right?
Okay.
So cutting here is probably a small move. And then definitely playing here is a really small move. Because black doesn't care about these 3 stones, again, for that same reason. They're not cutting stones anymore. All 3 of these groups here are already connected.
Okay.
These 2 stones are dead. So black could just play here. If this again is also a really small move. Black's gonna play here, right? And just map out as much territory in this corner as white's gotten over here.
Okay.
I would say that black is actually leading in this position because black also has two other corners. And the territory that white's gotten here and the territory that black's gotten here is pretty similar. So definitely a couple of slow moves here by white. Still a much better result than what should have happened for white, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely a slow, not slow, but definitely a couple slack moves here.
So then after he made that move at C11, I was saying, okay, how should I think about the board here?
So thinking about the board here, well, let's also just analyze this. This move is a little bit too close, right? If you were to have 2 stones, you'd want to be at least 3 away. So the stone out at the gate is just too close to actually be helpful. But thinking about the board more globally, there really should only be one spot on the board that you're thinking about. This area over here. Right?
Okay.
Michael, can you let Jaden into the Zoom? Or yeah. It looks like there's people waiting to get in. Thank you. So yeah, this should really be the focus on the board. This area over here is pretty well defined, especially after black has made this move here. There's really no more weak groups that need to be protected. So it's either going to be this empty corner over here, or this empty corner over here. And I think because there are stones here, this is probably a better place to attack.
Okay.
Which black eventually did. So if I were white in this position, I'd probably be thinking about something like this. And this might be a nice way for white to get some territory over here.
Okay. And that's more important first before dealing with the top or the right side.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are large empty positions on the board, but I think that if you play like this, there's a lot more severity because this was going to be potentially white territory here. it didn't necessarily need to be blacks. And so now this is kind of like double points in a certain way.
Okay.
That's how I think about it. It's kind of, it's worth double because this could have been white's game. No reason to save this stone. It's going to become a liability. Much better just to maybe parry like this, play something like that. This stone doesn't, even though it's technically considered a cutting stone, it's such a disadvantageous fight for white that it's not worth saving.
Okay.
You know, like, there's no way that white's going to be coming out here, and so you get a little bit of life in the corner, but you give black so much strength on the outside. There's no way this can be worth it. There's also all sorts of sente here. Any move over here is sente. Any move over here is sente. So even though white may be able to live, this is more endgame than anything else.
Okay.
I would just, yeah. When white plays here, when black plays here, I would start playing elsewhere because I don't think you're going to get a good result here anymore. But it's possible that later on, if you get some assistance, you know, you might be able to get a little bit of something over here. So unfortunately, playing this move without first playing Q2 is immediate death for these two stones. This move also, this move actually does not kill the two stones because white's able to play here, and this group is locally alive. This is really good shape to know. This shape right here is living shape. If black plays here, white plays here, white plays here, white will be able to make an extra eye by playing in this way.
I think that's what they call the tripod.
I'm not sure the name for it. I know that this one is like the pig mouth, I believe.
Okay.
Because this is actually worse shape than this shape. Does anyone know the status of this group? Anyone want to take a guess as to?
I know I can live if white goes. I'm trying to think of if it's killable.
Yeah. It's possible to kill him. Jerry, Jaden, any thoughts?
Does S2 kill it?
S2. Well, so no, S2 actually creates that same variation we just looked at. So if you play at S2, white plays here.
Yeah.
White plays here, white plays here. So this is in shape. It looked like, Jaden, you looked like you were taking yourself off mute. Do you want to say something?
Oh, no.
Okay. So do we think it's unconditionally alive? Is that what the group thinks?
I was going to say then my guess is T4 can kill it.
Well, if you do T4, then white will just play at S2, and this is living shape.
Ah, okay.
All right. Mike Sherman, do you know this answer? So, yeah, so T2 is the key point, and it has to do with the shortage of liberties, which is kind of interesting. If white plays here, which is the only kind of logical move I can play, right? If white plays here, then this is obviously dead shape. If white plays anywhere else, it's immediately dead shape, right? We don't need to spend too much time. If white plays here, black can play at D1. If white connects, then black gets to start a co. White will take, play a co-threat, knight back. And if this ever happens, it's a co for, actually, well, this will just be dead if white never connects because you can just play here. So it's a co for life. So this T2 move is really quite good to know.
Okay.
Now, I mentioned that there was a shortage of liberties issue, right? I also said that this group was perfectly alive. Someone want to tell me the pattern why this is perfectly alive?
Well, that must mean that T2 no longer works.
Well, it means that T2 no longer works, right? So we played, we'll say black plays at T2, white blocks. White will play here. Or sorry, black will play there. Why? Obviously, if we were to play here, this co would still be a co, right? Nothing would change. What can white do instead?
Good question.
Jerry, Jaden, any thoughts?
I think, can white play S4?
White play S4 now.
Well, that,
Actually, T3.
T3. So if you play T3, play a cup.
Oh.
So a T3 doesn't work. So go back one more.
no, that doesn't help. Yeah. I mean, if white played T1,
Yeah, T1 is exactly right.
right, then if black takes, then white goes T3.
Exactly. Even if black Atari is at Q1, white can connect, and black will never be able to connect at T1. And so this will eventually be living shape.
Okay.
That throw in at T1 is really helpful. Now, going back,
Throw in at T1 doesn't work in the
it
other.
doesn't work in this variation because of the shortage of liberties that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Sorry. If I play here, white takes, to go this way. If I connect here, there's a shortage of liberties because I cannot play a T3.
Yeah.
I know it's a
the stones mark
lot of moves, but this is really good shape to know that this shape here, perfectly alive. This shape here is a ko, or can be made a ko if black goes first. Obviously, this shape here is killable as well, but we don't need to get to so let's get back on track. I'll do another few more minutes of this game, and then we can jump to either Jaden or Jerry's games.
Okay.
But yeah, unfortunately, because of the order that white played here, where white played S3, there's just no way that this group's going to be able to live in the corner. I would say that this move at M3 is also a little bit questionable. Even though that white has a lot of strength over here, black is very strong over here as well. And this stone at O4 is not particularly important. So because of the fact that black is so strong here and white is so strong here, this area here is just not going to be that important for either side because it's going to be really tough for either side to make most points. If white plays something like this, black's able to kind of reduce how much white's going to get. There's still invasion points here. Similarly, if black plays something like this, there's still invasion points here and white can use the strength over here. So it kind of, because both sides are strong, neither side wants to play there.
Okay, that's what helps because what I was trying to gauge is the transition because a little while back when I asked, you were saying that the bottom is important.
Yeah.
And it was. And then as we played on the bottom right, essentially the bottom became unimportant. And that transition, you might say I didn't notice it. So the reason I played down there was I had my thickness and I said, well, you know, I should do something so that if he invades there, I can chase him into my thickness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the key difference was at this point in time, you had something to gain here. Right? At this point in time, the reason why I'm saying to come over here is because you can actually make some sort of shape for white here.
Right.
You can prevent
the balance of power on the bottom right is not so
clearly.
Yeah. Okay.
So black kind of correctly saw, okay, you know what? I actually have a lot of strength here. I can try to attack. It might be a little bit of a risky attack because white does have strength here, but I think because black is so strong here, it's probably playable. Although I will say it is probably difficult to kill these two stones because white does have moves like this, which will allow white to get eye shape. And of course, white gets the first move on the top. So maybe this move by black could have been a little bit premature. And I don't think is all that important because I think if black just plays moves like this, or, you know, obviously somewhere at the top, and white spends another move to live here, it's a lot of moves to not get that much territory. And I would much rather map out a corner than map out a side, especially when the side still has some weaknesses as well. So not to say that this move by black is a terrible move or anything like that, but I think the focus really should be on the empty corners right now, especially because white does get that first move.
Excellent.
And then playing away seems questionable to me, right? Like, why would you play this move to allow white to get this move? You would play this move if it doesn't get white something good, right? If white pincered here, then you can say that this is a positive result for black, because now black is actually getting a good separation on these two stones, and you can say that black is ahead in this fight. However, this is a positive move for white, right? This move helps white's two stones over here. It's not, whereas white's move at h3, let's say white had played this move helps an already stronger. So this is really a positive exchange. It's K3 move for L5. So if you're going to play K3, I think you need to come out and continue fighting. So whether it's, whether this is the fight that you play or whatever it is, this really needs to be the focus. I don't think you can play K3 and then white plays L5 and then ignore it. Okay, well, this is fine, no big issues. Yeah, so this is all fine. It's kind of funny that, like, I will say I think that black is probably ahead right now because black is mapped out pretty sizable side over here, large corner over here, large corner here, whereas white's territory is really just whatever white's going to get. Obviously, this corner and whatever white can get in this area here, which isn't clearly defined yet. So for me, the next big spot on the board is really going to be here. I think black cannot just afford to play away. I think this is really going to be the vital spot.